Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we bring you a story full of surprises and hidden angles that few people know about. Don't leave just yet. Just when you think you've figured it all out, there are fascinating and meaningful details waiting for you at the end of the video. Let's explore together and uncover the special message this video has for you. Are you ready? Let's get started. August 1791. For years, the Northwest Territory of the United States has been fraught with violent conflict between Native American tribes and U.S. settlers. Following the disastrous defeat of General Harmar the previous year, President George Washington orders General Arthur St. Clair to launch a second campaign against the tribes of the Northwestern Confederacy. This punitive expedition is intended to enforce compliance and secure peace in the region. Over the summer, St. Clair's forces gather at Fort Washington, which today stands where Cincinnati, Ohio, is located. From there, the troops advance 18 miles to the banks of the Great Miami River, constructing a supply base called Fort Hamilton. General St. Clair, however, must travel 70 miles to Lexington to recruit the promised militia reinforcements. Despite his efforts, he secures only 400 men, less than half the expected number. In his absence, command falls to Major General Richard Butler, a seasoned 48-year-old officer of Irish descent. Butler, a distinguished regimental commander during the Revolutionary War and a trusted figure of President Washington, also has experience negotiating with the Northwestern Confederacy and personal connections with several chiefs. Following St. Clair's instructions, Butler leads the army north once Fort Hamilton is completed. It is October 4th, a significantly delayed start to a campaign originally planned for the summer. The autumn brings shorter days and colder nights. The army's progress through dense forests is agonizingly slow, as narrow trails must be widened for wagons and artillery, a task hampered by a dire shortage of tools like axes and saws. In the first 5 days, the army averages a mere 4.5 miles per day. When St. Clair rejoins the forces, he is furious at their sluggish pace. Yet his frustration is compounded by a lack of supplies and equipment, including a critical shortage of flour for bread. Heavy rains begin on October 12th, followed by the season's first frost, leaving the army mired in freezing mud and halting their advance. Conditions for the troops deteriorate rapidly. Constant rain, halved rations, and dwindling morale lead to growing desertions. Adding to the disarray, many levy troops' 6-month enlistments expire mid-campaign, and many soldiers choose to leave. By October 13th, 40 miles north of Fort Hamilton, St. Clair orders the construction of another supply base, Fort Jefferson, to secure the supply route. Though strategically sound, this decision costs valuable time, leaving troops cold, wet, and hungry. At Fort Jefferson, 3 soldiers caught attempting to desert are hanged to set an example. The army's numbers dwindle to 1,500 men, already a third of its original strength, lost to sickness, desertion, or garrison duties. Amid his own debilitating gout, which renders him unable to ride, St. Clair contemplates retreat, but ultimately presses forward. Snow begins to fall, and with supplies again exhausted, the army halts once more. Meanwhile, leaders of the Northwestern Confederacy, including Little Turtle, carefully monitor the U.S. forces' sluggish advance. Their forces, now nearly equal in size to St. Clair's, begin picking off stragglers. Determined to change tactics, the chiefs decide to confront the U.S. Army in a direct, high-stakes battle. The dense woodlands and their expertise as hunters and warriors offer a significant advantage, but this departure from their usual guerrilla tactics carries immense risk. St. Clair, unaware of the Confederacy's plans, makes a fateful decision. Concerned that a vital flour convoy might be intercepted, he dispatches Major Hamtramck and 300 of his best troops to escort the supplies. The diminished force resumes its march. On November 3rd, believing he is near the target village of Kikionga, modern Fort Wayne, Indiana, though he is far off course, St. Clair orders the army to camp. He selects a steep plateau near the Wabash River, relying on the natural defenses and neglecting to fortify the position. Space constraints force militia companies to camp 300 yards away across the river, a separation that will make mutual defense difficult in case of attack. Unbeknownst to St. Clair, over 1,000 warriors of the Northwestern Confederacy are positioned just 2.5 miles away, fully aware of the U.S. forces' location. Before dawn on November 4th, 1,200 warriors move silently into position, forming a crescent formation. At daybreak, they will strike. On the left flank, Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi warriors stand ready. On the right, Wyandot, Mingo, and Cherokee forces prepare. At the center, Shawnee, Lenape, and Miami warriors await the signal. As the first light of dawn streaks through the trees on that fateful morning, just before 7 a.m., the air is shattered by a deafening war cry as they surge forward. In the U.S. camp, soldiers are preoccupied with breakfast. Rumors of recent Native American sightings swirl, yet these reports have not reached General St. Clair. To the west, the militia sentries are horrified as they spot hundreds of warriors advancing through the trees. They fire a few desperate shots before fleeing, pursued by a deadly hail of musket balls. The inexperienced militia are caught completely off guard. Some fire wildly, but most either scatter or are cut down where they stand. Within minutes, their camp is overrun, with survivors scrambling through the icy waters of the Wabash River and up the slope to the main camp. Here, U.S. regulars and levy regiments have been alerted by the sounds of war cries and musket fire. 6 cannons stand ready, their crews prepared to fire. However, the panicked militia, fleeing into the main camp, block the artillery's line of fire. Targeting the advancing warriors proves difficult, as they move in small, swift groups, darting from cover to cover. When the cannons do fire, their shots mostly soar high, tearing through the branches overhead rather than striking their intended targets. Meanwhile, Shawnee, Lenape, and Miami warriors launch a fierce frontal assault on the camp, drawing attention while the flanking wings of the Native American force move through the woods to encircle St. Clair's position. U.S. outposts are quickly overrun or retreat in chaos back to the main camp. Native American sharpshooters, firing from concealed positions, begin picking off officers and artillery crews with deadly precision. Within 30 minutes, a quarter of St. Clair's army are either dead, wounded, or have fled into the forest. The casualty count rises with each passing minute. Recognizing the desperate situation, St. Clair orders Lieutenant Colonel Dark to clear the rear of the camp. Dark leads 5 companies, about 300 men, in a bayonet charge to the right flank. Supporting him are 50 mounted dragoons on the left. The Wyandot warriors initially fall back, seemingly in retreat, but it is a trap. Lured out of position, Dark's men are ambushed near Buck Run Creek, where they are surrounded and suffer devastating losses before retreating to camp. Simultaneously, Shawnee warriors launch an attack on the southern end of the camp, where the slope is less steep. They overwhelm the defenders and break into the camp center. Here, they slaughter wounded soldiers, civilians, camp followers, cooks, and even a few women and children sheltering behind the front lines. In an attempt to regain control, St. Clair sends Major Hart and the 2nd Regiment into the fray. Hart's counterattack succeeds in momentarily pushing the warriors back, but he is killed in action, and his men suffer heavy casualties. By this time, nearly half of the U.S. regular officers have been killed, and Major General Richard Butler, the second in command, is gravely wounded. Some soldiers, paralyzed by the chaos and bloodshed, abandon the fight entirely, hiding wherever they can find cover. By 8:30 a.m., the fighting pauses briefly, providing a moment of respite. St. Clair seizes the opportunity to pull his forces into a tighter defensive formation. However, it is merely the calm before the storm. Little Turtle and the other war chiefs rally their warriors for a decisive final assault. 2 hours have passed since the initial attack, and St. Clair realizes that if his army does not break through the encirclement soon, they will face complete annihilation. The surviving officers muster the remaining troops for a desperate breakout. U.S. regulars fix bayonets and charge down the trail they had used to arrive, with every able-bodied man following in their wake. Wounded soldiers, unable to keep up, are left behind. What begins as an organized retreat quickly devolves into a frantic race for survival. Terrified soldiers discard their weapons and supplies as they flee. St. Clair remains at the rear of the column, ensuring as many men as possible escape. He is among the last to leave the battlefield. Warriors of the Northwestern Confederacy pursue the fleeing U.S. troops for several miles before returning to the abandoned camp to loot and dispatch the wounded. Among those killed is Major General Butler. That night, the victorious warriors celebrate their triumph. The Battle of the Wabash, later known as St. Clair's defeat, is over. By evening, the surviving U.S. forces, utterly shattered, straggle back to Fort Jefferson, 30 miles away. The toll is staggering. 2/3 of St. Clair's army are killed, wounded, or missing. All 6 cannons are lost, along with 1,200 muskets and the entire baggage train. Native American casualties, in contrast, are minimal, around 20 dead and 40 wounded. This catastrophic defeat remains the most devastating loss ever suffered by the United States Army against Native American forces. The rout was not entirely unexpected. General Harmar, defeated by Little Turtle the previous year, had warned of the inadequacies of St. Clair's campaign. As Lieutenant Denny later recorded, Harmar lamented the poor preparation, inexperienced troops, and lack of capable leadership. The disaster at the Wabash would serve as a grim lesson for the young United States. St. Clair's defeat marked a turning point in American history, prompting the first congressional investigation in the United States. While the investigation absolved General St. Clair of direct blame, it revealed an extensive list of failures in the preparation and execution of his campaign. These shortcomings would lead to significant changes in the military strategy and structure of the young nation. The next general tasked with confronting the Northwestern Confederacy, the formidable Mad Anthony Wayne, implemented sweeping reforms. He demanded more resources, emphasized professionalism, introduced rigorous training and modernized tactics, and prioritized thorough reconnaissance. For the Native Americans, the Battle of the Wabash was a resounding victory, achieved through unparalleled courage and masterful tactics. It cemented the legacies of leaders such as Little Turtle, Blue Jacket, and Buckingham as among the most formidable Native commanders in the resistance against U.S. expansion. However, this triumph would also prove to be the zenith of their resistance. In the aftermath, the United States intensified its efforts in the Northwest Indian War, culminating in a decisive confrontation under General Wayne at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. This defeat effectively ended organized Native resistance in the region, paving the way for the relentless westward expansion of the United States. The battle not only underscored the Native Americans' resilience and strategic brilliance, but also revealed the determination and adaptability of the United States to overcome its setbacks. Though the Native victory at the Wabash would be celebrated for its brilliance, the broader campaign was a harbinger of the challenges indigenous nations would face in the years to come. For those eager to explore more of history's pivotal moments, consider supporting content creators who delve into these fascinating stories. Platforms like Nebula, developed by creators for a superior, ad-free experience, offer high-quality content ranging from in-depth historical analyses to groundbreaking series like Nelson's Battles, which uses advanced 3D graphics to bring naval engagements of the Napoleonic Age to life. Subscribing not only provides early access to exclusive content, but also helps creators sustain their work and produce even more compelling narratives for history enthusiasts worldwide. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this story interesting and meaningful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting content coming up. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. We're eager to hear from you. See you in the upcoming videos with more unique and meaningful stories. Stay with us.